What up, fellas? I've been trying to cut down on my to-watch list, so I watched a new movie every day for a month. Let's get into it.
Rosebud.
You may or may not know this, but Citizen Kane was actually based on the life of a real guy. Media kingpin William Hearst. That's right, the greatest movie of all time is a biopic. But that's not even the craziest part because it came out while the dude was still alive. That's baller. Other than that though, what can I really say that hasn't already been said? Citizen Kane is a masterful balance of philosophy and human emotion. I mean, it's fucking Citizen Kane. Go watch it if you haven't. 10 out of 10.
If I take this thing out and you're not on it, you'll regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life.
Casablanca is the second and last oldest shit movie on this list, and I gotta say, watching it right after Citizen Kane really didn't help. That's not to say it's a bad movie. I mean, it's actually quite good. Hot take, I know. But it really doesn't compare to Citizen Kane. But like, most films don't, so that's not really a knock against it. It's still a really good movie. And what does it do well? One word. Sauce. Casablanca has so much sauce. That one shot with the safe at the beginning was so tough. The movie just looks so nice. It's really a masterclass in cinematography and framing. Even if that flashback sequence was pointless, I don't really mind it that much because it was pretty short. The whole movie's pretty short and concise. There's really no time wasted other than, again, the flashback sequence. The third act is genuinely perfect too. I think it's pretty funny that even after Rick put his life on the line just to save these people, he still tells the dude that he fucked his wife. I mean, I don't know, I just think that's pretty funny and also fitting for his character. 9 out of 10, please go watch it.
I see. So you're saying we poisoned the town water supply with lead?
I totally predicted that dude killing himself at the beginning. Just gonna put that one out there. I've been putting off writing this part of the video for a while because I've kind of fallen in love with Chernobyl. It's one of those rare pieces of media that just makes me feel like it was made just for me specifically. And I don't really want to talk about it honestly, but I'm gonna. Also yeah, 2 days in and I'm already breaking the rules. I know this isn't a movie, but most seasons of television nowadays are just long movies, so I'll say that I can either watch a movie or a full season of television. There's like 2 more shows in here anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, Chernobyl is really good. I love moments when a character realizes that they're totally screwed, and that's like 40% of the scenes in this show. I also love this period of history. I'm not sure how relatable this is, but the Cold War is just such a fascinating moment of history for me. This is the kind of shit I'm talking about when I say it was made for me. The characters are also so goddamn compelling. My favorite one of the main 3 just depends on what day it is. The speech that lady gives at the end of episode 4 was so good, it had me ready to run through a brick wall, but it turns out she wasn't even a real person, and they disregard the whole thing at the start of episode 5. But literally everything else in episode 5 is perfect. Absolute peak fiction. Or not fiction, I guess. One of my favorite moments from the whole show comes right before the title drop of the finale, when that guy gets a feel for the office he wants. It's such a subtle way of showing the incompetence behind this disaster, and how it was both preventable, but also inevitable at the same time because of the systems they had in place. And then the rest of the episode is fire as well. Every monologue in this show should be used to teach aspiring writers. When the science guy was giving his speech in the finale, and he fucks up and gets cut off by the judge, I was genuinely on the edge of my seat. I was so captivated by what was going on. Crazy that a show that's 90% just people talking could be more entertaining than most action movies, but I'm not going to question it at this point. If you haven't seen Chernobyl, go do yourself a service and watch it. 9.5 out of 10.
No, it's for the best.
Lord of War is another Cold War era biopic. It's that one based on the guy that we traded for Brittany Griner. It accomplishes what it sets out to do, but it really doesn't provide anything more. If I were in the mood for this kind of movie again, I'd just rewatch War Dogs for the 100th time. That's basically just a better version of this movie.
Motherfucker! $53 million.
Wish we had more of Ethan Hawke. 7.5 out of 10.
It's miraculous. Fuck.
I'm gonna make a full video for Lethal Weapon 2 because I have a lot to say about it. But in the meantime, I'm gonna give it a good time out of 10.
Hey!
Yeah?
What the hell is this?
The Penguin is the HBO spin-off show of the Matt Reeves Batman film that was released in 2022. It's pretty good. Everyone and their mom has spoken about this show. And yeah, it's pretty good. My notes say that it's similar to Succession, which like, no, no it isn't. Not even a little bit. I have no idea what I was thinking when I wrote that. It's 8 out of 10.
Just get on the chin and get out of here!
John Mulaney never misses, and here is no different. From the guests to the co-hosts, and even some of the callers brought their A game. I will say that the scripted video segments aren't as funny, but the interviews with real people are pretty sweet and pretty authentic. That's another thing, this show is really genuine. It has so much love for a city that while being worse than Boston in almost every way, is still a major backbone of our nation. I feel kind of weird giving this one a number score, so I'm just gonna say it's a great time out of 10. Go watch it. Peak Fiction, 9.5 out of 10. Okay, actually I do have a lot to say about this one. Just like Chernobyl, I feel like Training Day was made for me. It would be an easy 10 out of 10 if it weren't for Ethan Hawke's insane plot armor. The scene when he's held at gunpoint in the bathtub is presented so poorly. I mean, these guys wait painfully long to pull the trigger. They hold the shotgun to his head and pause to talk shit. Then the guy's like, oh wait, we can't kill him now, I have to steal his wallet, for some reason. And then they wait like 10 more seconds while the guy looks through the wallet, just long enough for him to say, hey, is this your little cousin? Fuck you. For a movie that's trying to be realistic, this scene really made me suspend my disbelief further than I was willing to. But I still love the movie regardless. The writing is incredible. I get to quote Denzel Washington in this movie in my day-to-day life, and I get to pretend like I made it up myself because no one else has seen this movie. As much as I love to gatekeep, please watch Training Day if you can. You will not regret it. Okay, I guess I really didn't have a lot to say about this one.
You know what? Fuck you, you motherfucker. You have fucked me so fucking bad, you motherfucker!
I'm gonna keep it real, I have no idea if The Equalizer is a good movie or not. It's like a 5 out of 10 if anyone but Denzel is here, and it's like a 4 out of 10 if it doesn't take place in Boston. But luckily for me, both of those things are here, and there's some really great action to go along with a relatively straightforward story that doesn't try anything too risky. The increasing complexity associated with each kill adds to the already great action sequences, but I wish there was more substance within the narrative for me to actually unpack. 6.5 out of 10, solid time.
Fingers crossed.
Who the hell is this woman?
Memento is actually a perfect film. Sorry guys, I don't make the rules. I'm just the messenger.
What the fuck?
Christopher Nolan has so much sauce. Every one of his movies that I have seen has something to enjoy, no matter what. I don't want to even talk about the plot a little bit because I want you to go in completely blind like I did. The best way I can market it is, imagine Shutter Island, but if it was actually a good movie. Watch it if you haven't, please, I'm begging you. 10 out of 10.
You think they were following us?
Either that or they got a grudge against our back windshield.
Ah, Joe, that's so dumb.
Tokyo Drift is by far the dumbest movie I've ever seen in my entire life, and I absolutely love it. Just watch the opening sequence on YouTube and imagine 2 straight hours of that. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, these guys are supposed to be in high school. These are not 17-year-olds. Everything about this movie is absolutely stupid. I mean, they kill off Han because he's the only character with an IQ above 70, and he would solve the third act in like 10 seconds. But if you're looking for a movie to turn your brain off and watch some sweet action, this movie is definitely for you. It's also the most mid-2000s movie I think I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know how a film that came out a year before I was born gave me nostalgia for a period of time when I was just living it up in the womb, but it is what it is. I'm not going to argue with it. Okay, obviously, this isn't a very good movie. Except for Han, that's my goat. Oh, never mind. I'll give it a good time out of 10.
Yeah.
Who the f*** is this? Is this a person I know?
Fast and Furious, which is the 4th one. Fucking, okay. My notes just say, hell yeah. The only thing I can really remember about this movie is that my goat Han was in like 2 scenes at the beginning. But besides that, I really could not tell you anything that happens here. So sure, I'll just give it a hell yeah out of 10.
Ugh, if he dies, I'm gonna have to start hanging out with The Rock again.
Fast 5 is easily the best one in the series so far, and it's not even close. What can I say though, I'm a sucker for a good heist plot. The sequences in this film are second to none. So many moving parts, setups, payoffs, and shit you couldn't see anywhere else. In that sense, it's very similar to the Mission Impossible series. Instead of Tom Cruise in a spy thriller, it's Vin Diesel in... well, it's still a spy thriller, but with cars and Coronas, baby. My goat Han makes a return too, and here, he's back for more than just 2 scenes. I like when Gal Gadot reveals that he's snacking all the time because he used to have a smoking addiction. That's the kind of good that a prequel can do, giving more context to a character's behaviors, not just trying to give an explanation for how they acquired their iconic accessories and catchphrases. I'm low-key surprised by Vin Diesel's acting chops here. In the scene where the guy from the first film dies, he shows off some actually good acting, in my opinion, which I was not ready for at all. I like how the film plays up the expectation that this guy was going to betray them, only for him to literally take a bullet for Vin Diesel and fucking die. He must have really hated his wife and kid, man. He was so ready to check out. This is the kind of plot where a one-dimensional, force of nature kind of villain can really work. Since the story isn't about him, he's barely in it. The story is about family. No, really. I love it when the bad guys and the good guys have to team up to defeat a common threat. and whatever his name was serves that role perfectly. I haven't even mentioned The Rock, but he's spectacular here too. Great time out of 10. I cannot wait for the next one.
It was a goddamn fucking piece of shit on a dick!
I spoke too soon. Don't get me wrong, Fast and Furious 6 is still pretty good. I mean, it's up there with Tokyo Drift for third best in the series, but it's not nearly as good as Fast 5. I'm also aware this has kind of turned into a bit of a Fast and Furious review, but this is the last one, I swear. My GOAT is still here, and he's absolutely going through it this movie. This and Fast 5 add so much depth and context to his character and so little screen time. I'm honestly kind of impressed. The villain here is similar to the movie as a whole, in that he's just forgettable. I don't even remember his name, but this time that is not in a good way. Good time out of 10. What's up next? Oh, The Godfather.
I did care for The Godfather.
Peter, it's so good. It's like the perfect movie.
De Niro, Al Pacino. I mean, you never see Robert Duvall. It has a valid point to make. It's insistent.
I get to the scene where all the guys are sitting around on the easy chairs.
Yeah, it's a great scene. The language they're speaking is a language of subtlety.
Well, there you go. I did care for The Godfather.
This was a lot funnier in my head. Actual peak fiction, 9 out of 10. DreamWorks never misses. I cannot wait for the next one.
What's that, Cortex? Use that plank? Yes, of course.
I spoke too soon again. How to Train Your Dragon 2 is really not it. I'm kind of overreacting, but I'm also kind of not. This movie really does not live up to expectations. The writing isn't bad here, but it's a lot more Hollywoody, in that the characters really talk like they're in a movie, which there wasn't a lot of in the first film. There, the dialogue was more realistic and natural, and here it seems more forced most of the time. The argument scene in the first movie with Hiccup and Stoic should honestly be taught to aspiring writers, it's that good. But here the writing is a lot more distracting with how unnatural it feels. Like when Toothless confronts the literally me dragon at the end. I mean, it's one of the coolest moments in the movie. But then midway through we have to cut to Hiccup and his mom basically just explaining what's happening, and it kills all the momentum right there. I hate talking about these kinds of things, because I think lesser men fixate on them, but the plot structure and pacing are both atrocious, and they're catalysts towards the other's demise. Don't get me wrong, when the movie hits, it absolutely hits. Every scene with Stoic and his wife is a 10 out of 10. Everything to do with Stoic in general is pretty great, but I wish the film was that good all the time, not just in those 2 or 3 scenes. And the villain here is such a letdown. He is so lame. Oh my god, bro.
Let me show you.
When he talked to Hiccup about being born into poverty and then making something out of himself, I was like, oh, they're gonna do something with how Hiccup was born into nobility and kind of handed everything in his life, and then contrast that with someone who came up from more humble means. But nope, no more development. That's where his character basically ends. Just a vague throwaway line about his past. Maybe it's just me, maybe my expectations were too high, but for now, I'm just gonna give it a 7 out of 10 and move on to the third one. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World is the last in the series, and it's also pretty alright. The villain was definitely a step up. He's so entertaining to watch, and I like how he actually has multiple advantages over the main characters, not just having a bigger army, or being physically stronger. I like how he's smarter than the main characters, and they still have to overcome that to defeat him. If I hadn't had the whole movie spoiled beforehand, I probably would have liked it a lot more, but it is what it is. It's still a pretty good movie. Not as good as the first one, but in all fairness, most films are nowhere near the level of the first movie. 8 out of 10. Get me the fuck out of here. No more DreamWorks movies.
Yeah, you think I'm afraid of you? I slept on your back last night, you piece of shit.
Never mind, actually, because we have another DreamWorks movie up next. Over the Hedge is one of the funniest PG movies you'll ever see. The sharp writing and creative direction makes it what it is. People usually don't talk about direction in animated movies, but this is a perfect example of how it can make or break a film. Talk shit all you want about DreamWorks' filmography, but even at their worst, their movies still have personality. The characters are just good enough to carry the relatively weak and predictable plot. Rigby's arc was pretty predictable, but it was also kinda sweet. But the star of the show here is the Verminator.
Personally guarantee that there will not be a living thing at this party.
I think I laughed out loud every single time he spoke, but he only has like 5 minutes of screen time. Damn shame. I wish we had more Verm.
Amphibian? No. Reptile.
7 out of 10. Get me the fuck away from this studio.
All right, I'm gonna fight these punks. What, Greco-Roman style?
Gladiator is a certified banger. It just goes so goddamn hard in every aspect. From the direction to the fights to the acting. I mean, holy shit, the acting is incredible. It just has so much spectacle, which makes sense because it was produced by... Wait a minute. No.
9
out of 10, go see it.
Queen, give me some of your air! Come on, Queen, don't be a bitch!
Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Foul is pretty sweet. This is the first Wallace and Gromit movie I've seen, but maybe I'll try to see the other ones now. 7.5 out of 10.
It was a goddamn fucking piece of shit on a dick!
Yeah, Captain America 4 is unfortunately not that great. Harrison Ford is kinda cool, but this movie is just so mid. And that former super soldier guy had the makings of a pretty interesting subplot. The guy that plays him is also really great, but it leads to some unintentional comedy because he'll be in a jail cell spilling his guts to Sam and the guy is just acting out of his mind. And then the camera cuts back to Anthony Mackie giving the most cardboard expression you've ever seen. And then the movie just forgets about him halfway through. So yeah, 5 out of 10.
You motherfucker! Get out of here! I'll kill you!
I fucking love the Dogman books, man. Like, actually, I'm being so serious. I actually wrote one of my college supplemental essays about Dogman, Grime, and Punishment, my personal favorite in the series. And the film really met my expectations almost exactly. First of all, it's hilarious. The jokes are hit or miss, but they hit a lot more than they miss. The upbeat tone also helps to balance some of the darker and bleaker elements of the story, especially involving Dogman's origin, which is so fucked up if you ever tried explaining it to someone. Narratively speaking, Dogman is a similar character to Paddington, in that he doesn't really change over the course of the story. He's more of a static character, so the arcs go to the other characters in the film. Petey the Cat is unironically one of my favorite villains in the history of fiction. Pete Davidson surprisingly does an incredible job playing him. His character arc follows almost the exact same beats from the book, but with one major element missing. Petey's mom. I really wish they included this aspect from the books, especially since she's such an important character for understanding why Petey changes. She's literally the entire reason why Petey cares about his son, since he sees a bit of her positive personality alive in him. I also like the ending of the book, where he goes and gets the flowers and puts it on her gravestone. And here, it looked like they were going to do that, and then they stopped it midway through so they can go have a dance party with all the other characters. And I get why they didn't include this part. I mean, it'd be pretty dark for a kid's film, but the opening 10 minutes have the two main characters die in a terrorist attack, so this isn't treading on any new ground. Other than that, I enjoyed myself quite a lot. Again, the humor was really creative and right down my alley. Easy 8 out of 10.
No, the other one. The blue hedgehog who can run very fast.
Sonic 3 is another surprisingly good kids movie. The second act was kinda mid, but I don't really care because it built up to the third act, which was absolutely peak. I'm not gonna lie to you fellas, there may or may not have been tears shed on my part, but that's okay. I'm a man and I'm willing to admit it. I hate when people shit on movies like this for being unrealistic or unsubtle in its messaging. Like, dude, it's the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, what the fuck did you expect? I mean, this is the only Sonic movie I've seen, so maybe I'm missing something, but in my opinion, this movie is about as good as it could have been. 8 out of 10.
Fuck off.
As a teenage, vaguely ethnic white male, I'm pretty much the target audience for 500 Days of Summer, and I'm straight. So yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of 500 Days of Summer. Is it a good film in its own right? Yeah, I think so. My only problem is that it's insanely unsubtle with its messaging, but I guess that's kind of the point here, to kind of hammer it home, so I guess I don't mind it too much. But I don't want to be associated with this movie or its fan base any longer than I have to. 9 out of 10, and I'm moving on. Fuck yeah, the Peanuts movie's good. Even though the licensed music was incredibly out of place and the Red Baron subplot eventually wore thin on me, it's a good time and I wouldn't mind a sequel. 7 out of 10.
No, I drove 900 fucking miles for a 14-year-old.
Prisoners is one of the most annoying movies to talk about because I feel like it could have been my undisputed favorite film of all time if it weren't for some obvious and glaring issues, most notably the pacing. In a perfect world, a story this complex and intricate could have been stretched out to perhaps a full season of television akin to a True Detective. But on the other hand, there isn't really enough happening here to justify a full season of television. I mean, there's only so many times I can watch Memphis from Happy Feet torture Paul Dano just for nothing to come out of it. For a story with so many moving parts, it's also insanely predictable, to the point where I correctly guessed out loud the ending twist less than an hour in. It kind of makes Jake Gyllenhaal look like a dumbass here too because, I mean, come on, it was right in front of your face, bruh. But speaking of stupidity, what was Memphis's plan at the end? When he finally figures it all out, he fumbles like crazy. I mean, what the fuck? Is he stupid? He's shown to be one of the most prepared people ever. He has a whole ass bomb shelter in his basement, and he has already performed CIA torture techniques on a developmentally disabled man-child. But now when he's face to face with his daughter's kidnapper, you're telling me he turns his back to her, and then he tries to reason with her? What? Is he stupid? Although, with all that out of the way, Prisoners is an absolute roller coaster to get through. The lows may be really low, but the highs are just as high, if not more. The ending scene with Jake Gyllenhaal cutting up traffic while bleeding out from being shot in the face is a top 10 scene in any movie on this list. And similarly to Manchester by the Sea, the acting is what really carries the film for me. It's frustrating just how imperfect this movie is, but fuck it, 9 out of 10.
Oh yeah, I forgot. This is a Disney universe.
The Snow White reboot was pretty ass, but I liked some of the songs and the costumes were nice, so 2 out of 10.
What was that? Yeah, take that, you jerk.
Okay, I only watched this movie because I was running out of Family Guy clips and I had that one of Superman lying around. With that being said, however, Superman the movie is surprisingly awesome. What it might lack in plot, it makes up for in pure sauce and energy. It's the kind of movie that you just feel, man. Lois and Mr. White steal every scene they're in, except for when they have to share the screen with Superman, of course. They have so much rhythm in the way that they talk, it's just so entertaining, which was needed because Clark isn't interesting enough on his own to carry a scene. I love the style here, but I wish Metropolis wasn't just New York. However, for the time, and even today, this movie looks fantastic. I also like how you don't even see Superman until halfway through the movie, so it feels earned once you see him for the first time. However, once he is introduced, there is a noticeable drop in quality. The third act is mostly whack, but while the ending is stupid, it's also pretty cool and creative. They were for sure coked up in the writer's room writing this because no way they were sober cooking up this ending. 8 out of 10, go watch it.
Came and you gave without taking.
I would never take from you, Barry.
I also only watched this one because I had that clip of Quagmire and nowhere to use it. But the movie's also really good, so cool. Barry Lyndon is a goated movie, but it's also really long. This is a trek to say the least. But come on, can I really complain about the runtime when the movie looks this good? Yes I can. Again, this is a borderline chore to sit through. You can call my attention span cooked, and you'd be right, but that doesn't change the fact that you could cut off half an hour to this movie at least and have changed next to nothing. I also did not care for the narration. This is just a pet peeve of mine. I really don't like narration in movies because I'm trying to watch a movie, not listen to an audiobook with visuals. However, all that being said, I cannot deny that this is undoubtedly a spectacular film from start to finish. So good, in fact, that I think I will have to revisit it later when my palate is more refined, because I legitimately fear that it might be a masterpiece. But for now, I'm just gonna give it a 9 out of 10 and call it a day. I'm gonna have to keep it real with y'all. Godfather Part II might be my favorite movie of all time, which is saying a lot because, well, the first movie exists, but Part 2 is just operating on a whole nother level for me. I feel so much more here than in Part 1, and even though I had key scenes spoiled for me in both films, I somehow still felt surprised when those moments happened here. If anything, Godfather 2 is easily the best sequel of all time. That much is clear. It takes the world that the first established and does some pretty crazy shit while keeping it all feeling natural. Part 1 and 2 work so well together as one cohesive story that we don't really need any more story here. We don't even really need a third one. I mean, even if they did make one, I wouldn't watch it because the story ended here. And speaking of the ending, holy shit, that last flashback scene might legitimately be the greatest scene in film history. I'm not exaggerating, it's that good. Easiest rating of my life, 10 out of 10, almost as good as Godzilla King of the Monsters. I'm only kind of joking, by the way, I love that movie. Okay, that's it. So, what did we learn? Well, somehow over the course of the month my to-watch list actually got longer. I'm not really sure how that happened. But yeah, that's all I got for you.